In the headlines, INEC meets security agencies ahead of FCT Area Council election. Residents flee Zangon Kataf after bandits attack as Governor El-Rufai receives security update. President Muhammadu Buhari pledges to hand over secured country to his successor. And on the foreign scene, garbage litter streets of Marseille as binmen continue strike. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Now the news in detail. Ahead of the FCT Area Council election scheduled for February 12th, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has convened a meeting with the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security (ICCES) to map out strategies towards ensuring the provision of adequate security during the poll. Chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, during his address, stated that the Commission will intensify its engagement with stakeholders to ensure a peaceful and credible process.
The Commission will intensify its engagement with stakeholders, particularly party leaders, transport providers, civil society organizations, and the media. We will work with all stakeholders to ensure that the forthcoming election is peaceful and our processes credible. That is why this meeting is crucial. Securing the environment is the foundation for a peaceful, well-organized and credible election. This was clearly demonstrated in the peaceful conduct of the recent Anambra State governorship election. Let us make the FCT Area Council election another shining example of a peaceful election.
The FCT election is not known to have reported any form of violence in the past, and he urged all security agencies to replicate the level of professionalism being exhibited in the last November election as we look forward in conducting this FCT election.
Meanwhile, political thugs are suspected to have set the Gombe State Secretariat of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) ablaze on Tuesday. The PDP office, which is situated along Gombe-Bauchi Expressway, as well as Atiku House, were both set on fire, damaging documents, furniture and other valuables. Some of the PDP members alleged that the opposition party organized the attack, noting that only the opposition would carry out such an act. Meanwhile, reacting to the allegations, the State Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, Moses Kyari, said the party has no hand in the destruction of the PDP Secretariat and the campaign office in the state. A coalition of civil society organizations want Nigerians to demand accountability from members of the 9th National Assembly and engage in associated conversation during campaigns for 2023 elections. The leader of the group, Anthony Ubani, stated this on Monday while briefing the House of Representatives Press Corps in Abuja. The coalition charged the legislators to sponsor and pass bills that are relevant to their constituents. The group says civil society organizations are collaborating in productive partnership with the National Assembly to promote legislative accountability for the good of all Nigerians.
Since we have you as watchdog, you are trying to make sure that these elected officials, public officials, function in a manner that they serve the citizens. We should always remember it's about the citizens. We've forgotten about that in this country. Everything comes down to citizens, the ordinary people who are neglected out there. That is why these people were elected, to represent them. Okay, mentioned about bills dumping. The focus really is to be able to identify that you're not just making laws, but you're making what we call technically high impact legislation.
This is our project. We agree no less with the Speaker when he said that, of course, bills making is not the only function. He's right, you know, but the full story is that there are other core functions. And let me also make us realize or reminded that bills sponsorship is not actually the true story. And that is what we have done.
And then this engagement, not only are we going to have issues around accountability, but we're going to have accountability from an informed perspective, informed stance, that we're in the premises of the National Assembly talking to the press corps of the member of the National Assembly goes a long way to show that we want to work from inside. We want to be part of this platform. What we need to do is to engage them in such a way to get the information, and we need you to put it out there for Nigerians. The 11 or 12 of us here, no matter how much information, factual information we have, without you putting it out there correctly to Nigerians, there is to an extent that we can go.
And amongst others, such as gender mainstreaming. I mean, that's also another key conversation to be having right now that we're looking at constitutional review amendment amongst other engagements with the legislators. And again, we said we'll also be co-opting the media as partners. So it's a win-win situation. You are part of this conversation. We cannot have structured, consistent conversation on these matters without you leading the forefront, because you're frontliners. So it's our duty. It's a collective drive with both the media and the civil society.
Now to matters of security, where bandits launched a fresh attack in Kurmi Masara in Atiap Chiefdom, Zongwankataf local government area of Kaduna State. A youth leader of Atiap Chiefdom, Gabriel Joseph, who confirmed the attack to Daily Post on Tuesday, said the gunmen shot freely as there were no security personnel to counter them, while the vigilantes in the area ran for their lives, and residents of Kurmi Masara deserted their community to a nearby settlement in the same Kurmi Masara axis. The attack is coming less than 24 hours after gunmen stormed Kurmi Masara community, killing 11 persons and burnt over 30 houses and properties. President Muhammadu Buhari has promised to hand over a revamped security, strong repositioned agriculture-led diversified homegrown economy, stable democracy and revamped armed and security forces to the next administration. The president made the promise while speaking at dinner in honor of the 2022 Committee of Business, Political, Media and Civil Society leaders. President Buhari said he is looking forward to completing his tenure in 2023, leaving a legacy for a united, peaceful and prosperous Nigeria with 24 years of uninterrupted democracy.
Congratulate Nduka for taking this initiative and getting us here. And I thank you very much for the people I have seen, successful people, who each one of you can write a book on your way to where you are. I haven't seen anybody who got it easy here. The trip to where you are now hasn't been an enjoyable one. I know that from interacting with a number of you in the list I have. I will keep this list. I need it. This initiative you have taken is very good. I wish you had taken it much earlier. But in a few weeks' time, there will be a number of you sitting there who wanted to be here. I wish you the best of luck. So those resources we had, if we had invested in agriculture, clearing the land, having machinery, developing better seeds, we would have been much richer. There wouldn't have been any need for fighting for oil. I think there is nothing better than experience. What you go through, whether you write it or you talk about it or not, a lot of you people go to know how you get to where you are.
Governor of Benue State, Samuel Ortom, has ordered a full-scale investigation into the fire incident that razed former President Olusegun Obasanjo's mango farm in Howe Community, Gwe local government area of the state. This is contained in a statement issued on Tuesday in Makurdi by the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Nathaniel Ikur, which stated that the need to unravel the remote and immediate causes of the fire outbreak. He said the governor received the report of the incident from the chairman of Gwe local government area, Emmanuel Osega, alleging that the fire is an act of sabotage and the perpetrators must be brought to book. The governor insisted that no act of sabotage will be tolerated by the government, saying that his administration had a deliberate policy to encourage local and foreign investors, especially in the agricultural sector. Meanwhile, Governor of Borno State, Babagana Zulum, says the state has lost over 900,000 houses, 5,000 classrooms, 250 health centers, and about 800 municipal buildings comprising of police stations, traditional rulers' houses, local government secretariats, among others, as a result of insurgency. The governor stated this while speaking during a condolence visit to Zamfara State over the recent killings of innocent citizens in Anka and Ukuyum local government areas of the state. Zulum added that in the state there are over 49,000 orphans and 50,000 widows who lost their parents and husbands to insurgency in the state. Trust TV's Adam Silas now reports.
The Borno State Governor, who led a delegation of the Northeast Governors Forum to commiserate with the government and people of Zamfara State over the recent massacre of innocent residents in the state by suspected terrorists in Anka and Bukuyum local government areas of the state, enjoined the people to be prayerful and resilient, which, according to him, are some of the powerful ways the country can overcome insurgency and banditry activities in the northeast and northwest of Nigeria. Governor Zulum also applauded the vision and tenacity of Governor Bello Muhammad of Zamfara State towards ensuring lasting peace and stability returns to the state.
The insurgency has impacted negatively on the lives and properties of the people of Borno State over the last 11 years. We need to address the root causes of the insurgency, which are not limited to increasing infrastructural deficit, increasing poverty, and climate vulnerabilities. There is a need for the government of Nigeria to ensure that these challenges are addressed with a view to addressing the problem of insurgency in our own country.
Responding, the Zamfara State Governor Bello Muhammad said his administration inherited the problem of insecurity in the state, however, doing his best to tackle the challenge. He noted that, just like Borno State, Zamfara State has recorded unprecedented losses in human and material resources with over 25,000 orphans, 27,000 widows, and over 3,000 houses destroyed by banditry, as well as 400,000 cattle rustled in the first 8 years of the menace in the state.
We know how we are fighting those animals that can come. We don't care to kill everyone, despite the fact that they call themselves as a Muslim, and they have no difference whether you are Muslim, Christian, APC, PDP, ALGA, whoever they don't care. We mostly share some intelligence between the two of us, and we share ideas on how best we can fight this criminal.
The Borno State Governor and his Zamfara State counterpart said they have similar problems and for that reason will continue to interface and sharing intelligence on how to find lasting solutions to the insurgency and banditry activities which had greatly devastating effect on the populace.
You're watching Trust TV News Update. Still to come after the break. 4 million risk tropical diseases in Zamfara State. This and more after the break. Stay with us.
From all around the world,
our news is factual and concise,
giving you fresh news as it breaks.
Nigerians in the diaspora have
Now, one tricycle rider feared death.
Troops fighting Boko Haram and ISWAP.
Although the government has made repeated commitments to make the country attractive.
When I sit on the news desk every day,
there's a deep sense of responsibility that overwhelms me.
A responsibility to deliver a message to our viewers
in the most professional way possible.
Knowing that there's a lot of fake news flying around mainstream and social media daily,
we owe it to the public a responsibility to bring well-researched and responsible reportage to the table.
With Trust TV,
your show of a news and documentary channel you can trust.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
welcome back. You're still watching Trust TV News Update. Let's take a look at some of our top stories. Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has convened a meeting with stakeholders to map out strategies towards ensuring the provision of adequate security during the FCT Council polls. And bandits launched a fresh attack in Kurimu Masara in Atiap Chiefdom, Zangon Kataf local government area of Kaduna State. And moving on to other stories now, Nigeria has recorded 158 new cases of COVID-19 across 10 states and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The National Center for Disease Control, NCDC, in its update for Monday, January 30th, said 296 persons were discharged after recovering from the infection, while one person died of COVID complications. Nigeria now has a total of 253,181 cases, 229,315 recoveries, and 3,136 deaths lodged in the 36 states and the FCT. Meanwhile, South Africa has scrapped isolation for people who test positive to COVID-19 without symptoms and also reduced the isolation period of people who test positive for COVID from 10 to 7 days. Meanwhile, the national HIV prevalence remains 2.8%, even as the National Agency for the Control of AIDS estimates that there are 1.9 million people living with HIV in Nigeria. Consultant clinical pharmacist in charge of Art Pharmacy, Maitama District Hospital, Gesa Adonis, said the management of HIV patients is better now.
Based on the national HIV treatment and prevention guidelines, somebody has to go through testing, counseling and testing. You counsel the patient first. If he's negative, you counsel him on how to stay negative forever. If he's positive, you counsel him on the fact that he's positive. Then you now refer the patient to where the person can access treatment or management. And we usually will have HIV drugs based on the national guideline. Of course, when they come, there are some basic vital investigations that we do, but because we are practicing test and start, we make sure they start immediately. Once we discover they are positive, we start immediately based on test and start principles that we are using. So we involve, based on the investigation, we know whether the particular combination of drug that they will be on. And usually it's the first line drug that they start with. We have first line drugs which we use in managing patient, the naive patient. Naive means somebody who is not on HIV before. Once you are positive, you will now be placed on first line combination. It must be triple combination. So you'll be on the three combination of first line drugs. If along the line the patient fails first line, we move the patient to second line. If the patient fails second line, we move the patient to third line. So we have about 3 categories of treatment. We use nothing but drugs. The only thing is we reserve some for particular class. There are some we use for first line, some we use for second line. Then we have those that we use for third line.
And still staying with matters of health, Zamfara State Government says over 4 million residents are at risk of contracting lymphatic filariasis in the state. The State Commissioner for Health, Aliyu Abubakar, made this known during the occasion to mark World Neglected Tropical Diseases Day in Gusau, Zamfara State.
The NTDs, mostly parasitic infections, are the major causes of preventable blindness and disability. They threaten more than 1.7 billion people worldwide who live in the poorest communities, making them vulnerable to the mild and severe lifelong impairment. These diseases blind, disable, and disfigure people taking away not only their health, but also their chances of staying in school, earning a living, or even being accepted by their family or community. Those affected are usually stigmatized, and that alone can have a devastating impact on them and their families. Nigeria as a whole, and Zamfara State in particular, is at risk of contracting one or more of the NTDs. The NTDs are trachoma, a blinding disease. 7 LGAs in Zamfara State are under control. 2 river blindness, with 6 endemic LGAs are no longer at risk. 3 lymphatic filariasis, where 14 LGAs are endemic, and more than 4 million people living in the state are at risk of the disease.
Now to legal matters, where a federal high court order in Abuja declaring as unconstitutional deductions from the state for police trust fund is generating reactions from legal practitioners. The Police Trust Fund Establishment Act empowers federal government to deduct 0.05% from the federation account to fund the police. The latest legal practitioner to react to the judgment, Mutiu Akinsanya, speaks on the implications of the order.
So let me begin by saying that as a country, our ground norm is the Constitution. So any other law you have that is contrary to the Constitution is null and void. And that was exactly what happened. And the Constitution provides clearly that all monies in the federal account will be shared between the 3 tiers of government, the federal, the states, and the local government. So it doesn't make any provision that monies directly from the federation account should go to any agency of government. Even though that is provided under the Police Trust Fund Act, that is a violation of the Constitution, and that was what the court held. Now it's important to also say that the only party that was a plaintiff in that suit at the Federal High Court was the Rivers State government. And it is only a party to a suit that benefits from whatever the outcome of a suit is. So any other person or state that is not a party can obviously not benefit, except they go to court and then seek for the same relief. Okay, now you must understand again here that the Federal High Court is a court of first instance, and you still have 2 other courts. You have the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. So it is not yet uhuru for the Rivers State government. They still have 2 more steps to go.
Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo has reintroduced the School Management Board system for prudent and effective management of resources. Makinde, who inaugurated the school's governing boards for 643 public secondary schools in the state, said the inauguration was in line with his administration's quest to further consolidate achievements in the education sector.
It is a great honor to stand here before you today as we inaugurate the distinguished members of the Oyo State Schools Governing Board for all the 643 secondary schools in our dear pace-setter state. To reinforce the benefits of our reform policies, there is the need to ensure that the management of public schools is sufficiently conditioned to administer the delivery of even more accessible quality education for the development of the state. And this is why today we are inaugurating a broad-based participatory management structure. The School Governing Board for our secondary schools is not only a means of attracting alternative funding sources for education in the state, but it's also a means of ensuring a more prudent and transparent utilization of available resources for maximum impact. As such, I implore every board member to see this assignment as a way of giving back to the community that made you, and as a way to contribute your quota to the development of Oyo State.
Nigerians have been advised to adopt civic engagement and community consciousness to ensure safer communities. This is revealed by the president of Kano Leads Initiative, Barrister Aisha Dankani, at a press conference held in Abuja.
All of the people of Kasar Kano and the state and the nation at large. With this sad and we dare say avoidable incident, we must admit it is time for a rethink. It is time to do some deep thinking. It is time to do things differently. This sad event makes it imperative for us to all rally around each other and be the community we are all known for, that Kano Muslim community. It is important not to leave all of the stress of running our lives to the government. It is not done to allow leadership alone to shoulder everything. Despite the role of government and our traditional institutions that are primary, we have to imbibe the concept of all of us working together.
Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has disbursed a total of 23.2 billion naira to 28 firms whose projects satisfy the Apex Bank's criteria for 100 for 100 policy for production and productivity. The CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, stated this in Abuja on Monday while presenting the checks to the beneficiary companies through 7 participating financial institutions. He said 243 firms submitted applications with projects valued at 321.06 billion naira for the 100 by 100 loan scheme, which comprised of 14 manufacturing firms, 12 agricultural companies and 2 healthcare firms. He said the selection of subsequent beneficiaries will be rolled over every 100 days with new sets of 100 companies. And on the foreign scene, streets of Marseille in southern France are filled with trash as garbage collectors are on strike, protesting the municipality's decision to increase working hours. Marseille decided that collectors will have to work 1,607 hours annually, 35 hours per week, without additional pay. Workers then went on strike because they used to work 1,286 hours annually. After the work action began last Thursday, annual working hours were reduced to 1,530, but workers are not satisfied. About 10 unions support the strikes. Marseille and its surroundings are affected. The strike is expected to continue as the municipality is not budging from its position. And that concludes Trust TV's news update for this hour. Don't forget, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.